let's talk Mets. Our New York Mets. The miracle season has come to an end. I know there's 4 or 5 games left, but the Mets are officially eliminated from postseason contention. Can't get the wild card because the Brewers are just unstoppable, dude. I mean, all the credit into the world to the Milwaukee Brewers. I thought they were going to fall apart when Christian Yelich went down for the season. I thought the wheels were going to come off the bandwagon, and I thought we were going to easily hop over them on the way to the wild card spot. The Cubbies did exactly the opposite of what I thought they were going to do. I thought the Cubbies were going to continue to win and get a wild card spot. Instead, they shit the bed and went on a 7-game losing streak to end the season, or close to ending the season. And the Nationals weren't the Crashionals. The Nationals kept it together and looked pretty strong. Of course, they'll get bounced in the first round, but kudos to them. Phillies fell apart, but the Mets were in position. And I feel like they had everything going for them. And they still had a good record down the stretch. It's just it wasn't enough. I said last episode or a couple episodes before, you have to sweep the Rockies, Reds, and Marlins. Those are 3 teams that you just need to wipe off the face of the planet, bulldoze them, and then you get to the Braves, and the Braves series is the one that's going to matter. You can only lose 1 to the Braves. And we didn't. We took 2 or 3 from the Rockies, 2 or 3 from the Reds, 2 or 3 from the Marlins. And 2 of the 3 losses, were courtesy of Steven Matz. So the Steven Matz in Colorado, kind of to be expected. He doesn't have a great history against Colorado's offense. It's in Denver. So, had the potential to be a real disaster. And it was. But home against the Marlins. Come on, bro. Jesus. We're making Alfaro. I've never heard of this dude before this time. And, excuse me if I should know this guy, but he's a Mets killer. Grand slam, home runs left and right. This guy, Brodie, who I've never heard of before, is a Mets killer. Just hitting the ball over the park, stealing bases, running real hard. Guy digs. But, Steve Matz did not make a great case to stay on the ball club. And, I know he's pre-arbitration. So, but you're not going to get the kind of salary you would hope for after, finishing and rounding out the season like that. 2 of those losses can be pinned directly on you, dude. Directly on you. We needed you to come out and give us 6 to 7 strong, and you couldn't. And that sucks. Because, I know it affects him big time. You can see how emotional he gets, and it's just I feel for him. I would have done the same exact thing. I would have just crouched and wanted to just sink into the earth and to never be seen again. Pull an ostrich in the desert. 2 or 3 from the Reds really sucks. I know it's in Cincinnati, but I know people are pointing the finger at Todd Frazier like he had that huge error and then not playing the chopper down the line, which it's hard to blame him for that. The ball was foul. You look right down the third baseline, the ball is clearly foul before it crosses the bag. And of course, he didn't throw it as soon as he could. Runner's safe, and of course, run scores because of it. 2 runs score? 1 or 2 runs scores because of it. But then he comes back, and this is where it's hard to say what Todd Frazier's future is. I know a lot of people are saying he's donezo with the Mets. Don't bring him back, especially at $9 million a year. But I think he's a good bench player. I think he's a good pinch hitter. He's a good spot starter. I think obviously $9 million is way too much for a player like that. I think Todd still wants to start and be a starting third baseman. And probably there's probably a ton of teams out there that need a starting third baseman. So odds are he's probably gone. I'm just saying, if you're Todd and you've been in that clubhouse for 2 years, you saw 2018 and how much it kind of stunk. And then you see 2019 and you're like, wow, this team has a lot of potential. Do I want to win a ring? Am I a ring chaser, or do I want to be a starter? Do I be a starter on a bad team that's not going to win? Or can I be a bench player, impactful bench player on a team that has a really good chance to be a contender in 2020? They should have gone to the playoffs this year. And, in that Reds loss, like, okay, so Frazier has the error. He doesn't feel the ball in the chopper down the line. That was a foul ball. But then he gets on base and he scores. Then he lets a ball by him on the play at third in the bottom of the eighth. But then he throws that guy out the plate. So it's like, a lot of highs and lows. I don't know. I'd like to see him back because I think he could get a ring with this team. And I don't know that he can say that about a lot of teams that need a starting third baseman. Odds are he's probably gone. I don't want to see it happen, but, and it sucks that Seth Lugo is the one who gives up the game winner. But I mean, it's bound to happen. The guy's been pitching so well for so long that it's just the odds are not in his favor. A little Hunger Games? No. Yeah, so you need to sweep those teams and you didn't. And that's ultimately what it really comes down to. But for me, I'll write a blog post about this. There are 5 to 6 series this year that cost the Mets this playoff spot. They could have made the playoffs if something goes differently in these 5 to 6 series. So I think, there's 6 series. Early May, Cinco de Mayo weekend, they get swept by the Brewers. There's a 3-1 loss, a walk-off loss in 18 innings, which when they had the lead in extra innings, and a 3-2 loss. You win one of those games. Just one. That helps. So that's one win. Getting swept by the 10-31 Marlins, May 17th to 19th. So this is after the Brewers series. We're going in chronological order. 10-31 Marlins. You know that they just don't have it this year. They're essentially tanking. They're mailing it in. Jeter's trading all their assets to stockpile young talent. 10-31. You got swept. If you win one of those games, 2 wins that they should have had. Getting swept by the Phillies in late June. This one. I mean, they didn't get swept. They lost 3 of 4. So they lost 3 of 4 to the Phillies in late June, but they had back-to-back walk-off losses. If they just hold on to one of those wins, one of those walk-offs, and prevent one of those walk-offs, it's 3 wins they could have had. 3 walk-off losses to the Giants in mid to late July. 3, dude. 3. I mean, just give me one. Just give me 2 walk-off losses. Just reduce it to 2. That's 4 wins we could have had. Getting swept back to back by the Braves and Cubs. If they win just one of those games, we're now talking 6 W's, more W's than they had before. And they're essentially tied with the Brewers for that second wild card spot. God damn it. Can you imagine if they got the Edwin Diaz from 2018? 2018, Edwin Diaz is your closer. Not only did we get 5 to 6 wins, I just rattled them off, we probably get 5 to 6 more wins. And we definitely have a wild card spot. If Familia is anywhere close to where he used to be, how many more wins do you get then? So, I mean, you can see how easily the season just got away from them. Just seriously got away. But you can also see how they're in a good position, knowing, I mean, the talent that they have, that they're in a good position for 2020. I mean, stats are getting old hat at this point, but the stats are like, 57% save percentage, 22nd in the majors, 5th worst in the National League, 27 blown saves, 3rd most in the NFL. What's bananas is that the Dodgers have just about as much or more blown saves as the Mets, and they've gotten like 100 plus wins. They just have more save opportunities. And the Nationals too. But I don't know how they pulled it together down the stretch, because they've been one of the hottest teams along with the Brewers. And that's why they're in the playoffs. The Mets aren't. I mean, Jacob deGrom should win the Cy Young. I don't understand how this is even a conversation. The guy's been outstanding. It's just his record doesn't reflect that because the offense decides to just take a mini vacay, a little staycation when he takes the bump, which I can't. You got to answer something for me. If I were to ask you, and I know this, I'm giving it away, but who's on the bump today? I mean, come on. Who do you think I'm talking about? I'm asking who's pitching. I asked that down at the bachelor party in Tampa. I got a bunch of blank stares and faces. Everyone thought I was talking about nose candy. It's like, yeah. Come on, guys. I know it's a party, but who's on the bump today for the Mets? I mean, whatever. Yeah. Love deGrom. I mean, I could rattle off all kinds of numbers all day. It just, reiterates and confirms the guy is outstanding. And he's only 31, and we have him for until 2023, 2024, which we have a lot of guys until 2023, 2024, a lot of good players. So if you don't feel good about the Mets, I don't know what needs to happen for you to get on board. I thought this was a cool stat just because I feel like this is something that would happen to me. Paul Sewald, the reliever, got his first win in 118 Major League Baseball games. That is insane. And it's a little bit understandable, but 118, that's nuts. Congratulations to him. I don't think he's going to be on the team next year, but that's got to feel good. Get the first dub in almost a full season's worth of games. It's definitely something that I would do. Mets retired Jerry Koosman's 36, number 36. Of course, Callaway was wearing number 36, and he's going to have to change numbers. I guess he's going to be 20-something now. Who cares? And this brought up a lot of questions. One is, did the Mets do this to kind of signal to Callaway, like, hey, bud, you're gone. You're gone. You're done. Your time is over. We're forced. It's like, how do we get him to quit? Maybe we force him to change his number. No, but it also brought up a more important question: who else deserves to have their number retired? Which Mets players deserve to have their number retired? Currently, it's Gil Hodges, number 14, Piazza, 31, Casey Stengel, 37, Seaver, 41. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4 players that should, and 2 more players that I'd like, but it probably won't happen. So the 4 players, I'll start with the obvious ones. David Wright, number 5. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Dwight Gooden, 16. I know Dwight has a sordid history, but like, he's the Lawrence Taylor of this team, dude. You just can't ignore the impact he's had on the team and the franchise and what he's done. All the records that deGrom is setting or breaking were Doc Gooden's records. So, I mean, him and Seaver are the 2 best pitchers. Seaver's got his number retired. I mean, Gooden has to have his 16 number retired. Darryl Strawberry, number 18. I don't understand how that's not happening. I mean, you talk about Pete Alonso and all the numbers and records he's breaking. Almost all the records he's breaking, Darryl Strawberry had at one point with David Wright. So 18, got to go. Edgardo Alfonso, kind of a little bit of a curveball, number 13. I mean, he's essentially the best second baseman they've ever had. Played something like a handful, several seasons with the Mets, and was always, a key contributor. High batting average, a lot of doubles, RBIs, whatnot. Good with the glove, dependable. I don't see why he shouldn't have his number retired. And then, so those are the 4 that are probably going to have their number retired if they still continue doing this. Eventually, 200 years from now, they're going to have to stop. 2 players that, maybe. Sid Fernandez, number 50. El Cid was like my mom's favorite pitcher because he's got a badonkadonk. He's got Chonk and the truck lit. Which I like Sid too. He's a cool dude. And then Keith Hernandez, I mean, number 17. I know he probably doesn't have the WAR or whatever statistic you want to throw out there, and he's maybe not tops in a lot of categories, but like, come on, dude. It's only a matter of time. I don't see how that doesn't happen. I personally would have loved to see Howard Johnson's number retired because Howard owns a couple records for the franchise. But number 20, that number will get retired, just won't be Hojo. It'll be Pete Alonso. Mark it down, dude. So yeah, the big question that we've already kind of touched on, will Mickey Callaway survive into 2020? Here's the deal. It's long been said he's a player's manager. Now, if you're Brodie Van Wags, you go to the locker room, you go to the clubhouse, you interview every player in that goddamn clubhouse, and you say, hey, this is anonymous. What you say in this room stays in this room. Do you want Mickey Callaway as your manager? There's no press. There's no media. There are no leaks. I've duct taped all the air and all the crevices in this room. There are no microphones. I checked for bugs. Say what you want. Have at it. Do you want Mickey Callaway as your manager? And if the majority, the overwhelming majority say yes, stick with them. And I don't know, maybe hire like someone else who has managing experience and coach him on how to friggin' manage games. But if you do not get an overwhelming majority and you get a decent amount of, if it's 60-40, 50-50, I think you move on. Dude has made way too many mistakes, cost us way too many games, and then he has these bonehead reasons for why he made them. You got to let him go. In his defense, is Brodie Van Wags too over-controlling, too overbearing? Does Brodie need to relinquish control a little bit and loosen the leash, if you will? If Brodie takes a step back and lets Mickey breathe and make some decisions on his own, and their relationship gets a little bit better, does Mickey manage the game better? But that's what you got to do. Survey the room, take the pulse, get a read of the room. And if this player's manager really has his players backing him, and I mean 70 to 80% or more, strongly, passionately, emotionally saying, yes, he's our guy. We need him in 2020. You can't fire him. You'd be stupid to. I don't think Joe Girardi's going anywhere. I mean, will he end up with the Cubs? I don't know. Those are the two candidates, Joe Girardi and Joe Madden. Joe Madden and Joe Girardi, the two candidates. I don't know if I want Joe Madden. I think he's going to be a little too weird. I don't know why I think that. All right, so we'll finish with this last section. Pete Alonso's parents, by the way, are pretty awesome. I finally got to see that interview during the Reds game, and the mom is talking about Mets Village, and dad is saying LFGM. It's like, yeah, let's fucking go, Alonso's. It also sucks. I'll note that it sucks that Jeff McNeil's fractured his friggin' wrist last night on that stupid pitch. Come on, dude. You can see how pissed he was. All right, so we come to the section. What do we do with? Okay, 2019 season's pretty much over. Forget about it. What are we doing in 2020? Who is signed? Who's going to become a free agent? Who's in arbitration? Who's in pre-arbitration? What do we do with some players that we're on the fence about? Okay, let's start with the players that are signed for next year and beyond. Jed Lowrie, $10 million next year. Jed, a.k.a. Jed Lowrie. I just do not see how this guy is worth it. I think we have Jeff McNeil. We have a cheaper option in J.D. Davis. I mean, if you're going to bring back a guy for that kind of money, or hopefully less, it'll be Todd Frazier. You got Cano, which, blah, 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 blah. I just wish they could deal Lowrie. I don't know how they're going to get him off the books, get him off the team, but I just don't see him contributing enough to warrant the $10 million next year. Such an awful deal by Brodie. Blurf. And he was awful when he came back. And Gary, during the broadcast, was saying that there's probably maybe something with him still wrong because we haven't seen him in the field yet. We've just seen him hit. So the fact that he's might be still still dealing with lingering issues is not great. Cano, I just mentioned. I mean, this contract is brutal. Not as bad as Bobby Bo, but I mean, shit, we might as well make it a Bobby Bo contract at this point. $24 million for the next 4 years. Just let's pay $1 million till the end of time, dude, per year. $1 million per year to the end of time. Might as well do a Cano contract to rival Bobby Bo, and they can get together and spend, and celebrate their $1 million a year together. I'm sure Bobby Bo feels a little lonely, spending all that cash. So I don't know anyone's going to trade for Cano. We're probably stuck with him, unless I guess you can designate him and then maybe save money. I don't know all the rules, dude. All I know is that stinks that we have him for 4 years. And I know he got hot, and he was hot in the second half, but you can fully expect him to be injured for a large chunk of the season each year. He might even, yeah, for sure. So that sucks. I don't see anyone trading for him. Jeurys Familia, that's another bad contract. $12 million for the next 2 years. Yikes. I don't see him getting much better at all. So I don't know who would take him off our hands. So we probably have to deal with that, eat that. Wilson Ramos, $10 million for next year. And then we have a team option in 2021 for $10 million. Again, I mean, this guy's showed that he's got a bat and that he can he went on a 26 game hitting streak, and he can be the offensive surge that we need behind the plate. He just stinks behind the plate. Defensively, can't throw guys out, can't block the ball. So is that something you're willing to sacrifice for runs? Again, I don't have a degree in analytics. Wish I did, but I need some stat nerd, math geek to come out and say, no, Ramos is not worth it. I think he had he was top 9 in WAR this year. I think it was like a 1 point something. So I guess he's not really costing you games. I mean, Cano had a worse WAR than Ramos, which is saying a lot. So that's going to be a tricky, sticky situation. I mean, I'd love to see if we could trade him to an AL team and say, hey, we got your DH. Here's your DH, Wilson Ramos. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Justin Wilson is guaranteed is going to get $5 million next year. I'm fine with that. Lefty specialist who has shown he can close out games as long as he stays healthy. He'll be worth that. Yoenis Cespedes, $29.5 million. Hasn't played in 2 years. Of course, I think the Mets recouped like $21 million for this year, and I don't know how they spent it, but they didn't spend it on a whole lot that would win us games. Mets have a team. So yeah, I mean, I have no idea what to do, because it's like you hate to cut bait on him, and then he goes somewhere and lights it up offensively, and maybe he's not that great defensively, but he's not costing you enough runs to warrant not starting him in the outfield. Again, that's another guy. If he looks good with the bat offensively, but it cannot play the field, you got to trade him to someone in need of a DH in the AL. So it's 2 candidates that you have that could be DHs in the AL, in my opinion. But who knows? I mean, I don't know anyone that had double heel surgery. Literally no one. No one I can think of that has had double heel surgery and then had a non-horse accident on his ranch. Never heard of it. Yoenis Cespedes continues to be one unique motherfucker. Yeah, so he's the wild card. And I know it's been said multiple times, but he is the wild card. What is he going to look like coming into next year? And if he looks like absolute shit, oh man, that sucks. But if his bat looks good and he stinks in the outfield, I mean, you got to move him. Simple as that. Brad Bratch, $5 million team option. I mean, I know this guy's a Mets fanish. I know he showed a lot of fire. He's shown a lot of motion, but he cost us those stupid runs in the Marlins game where he didn't break for first quick enough. It seems like he had a stretch where he was the guy against right-handers, and Louis Avalon was the guy against left-handers. And that was a good duo. I just can't see $5 million. I don't know. I could be very wrong on that. So I'm most likely out. But again, the Mets bullpen is so thin that it's like if you've shown any kind of promise or, flashed any kind of average ability, $5 million might be worth it. I just don't put him on the same level as Justin Wilson. Do you? Kind of a slap in the face to Justin Wilson. So I don't know. So those are the guys who are under contract and get their salaries are determined. Of course, there are guys that are under contract but are in arbitration and pre-arbitration. We'll get to that in a second. The free agents, guys that are going to be free agents. Juan Lagares. It's been real, dude. I'm so happy that you had your first ever Grand Slam. You had that amazing game where you were hitting the snot out of the ball. Perfect way to end your Mets career. When he signed that contract, I was a little surprised. I was like, wow, okay. I know he won a Gold Glove, and I know defense is important, but that's a lot to give someone that is not that great at the plate. So it's been fun. I wish him all the best. It'd be interesting to see where he ends up. Of course, he'll probably end up on the fucking Braves or Nats or Marlins or Phillies and just decimate us. But I think we can do better. And that's saying a lot because we're thin in the outfield. Ironically, because we have infielders playing the outfield, McNeil, Smith, and Davis, which is going to make for a crowded infield. Very crowded infield. So we are hurting in the outfield and we need outfielders. I just don't think Juan Lagares is it, especially not $9 million a year. Frazier, again, I already talked about this. He made $9 million this season. I don't see us paying $9 million to keep him next season, especially if he's not. I don't think he would be a starter. I would hope he's not a starter. I don't know. So I think we've seen the last of him, which sucks because I think he could get a ring with the Mets, but I don't want to repeat myself. So Todd, apologies, but if things were different, you know what I'm saying? But too many infielders, too many cooks in the kitchen. Zack Wheeler, he is 29 and he made around $6 million this year. And I looked at spottrack.com, pretty dependable website. They said his market value is 4 years at around $94 million, which is an average salary of $23.5 million. Hello. That's a lot of money for Zack Wheeler. That kind of contract is comparable to the ones that these following players got that kind of contract. Patrick Corbin, Yu Darvish, Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom. So you're saying Zack Wheeler is on that level, Jacob deGrom's level. It's very lofty. So I don't know if I'm willing to buy into that just yet. But again, he was putting up numbers somewhat comparable to deGrom. We'd have deGrom go 7 innings, 0 runs, lots of strikeouts, and then Wheeler would pretty much almost do the same. He would match those numbers. So if you're getting that Wheeler and you're getting deGrom 2.0, another version of deGrom, I don't hate it. I think maybe you open the wallet, especially considering Steven Matz is not giving you what you want him to give you. Noah Syndergaard is not giving you what you want to give him, and you don't know what Marcus Stroman can give you. His first couple outings, it was like, wow, I can't believe we made this trade. And then his last couple outings, he's been amazing. I mean, he's not giving you what deGrom and Wheeler give you, but he's giving you enough to win. So, and that's kind of the conundrum you're stuck with right there. Personally, I think, and this will never happen because the Mets ownership is stingy when it comes to opening their wallet, but just, pay him. Pay him. And then I think, he's shown enough over the last 2 years. I know that he's had some rocky starts this season towards the early part. And the first half of last season, he wasn't where he is now. But I think he's hit his groove. And he's only 29. And if you sign him for 4 years, $23 million a year, I think that, and he knows that you're saying, hey, we think you are of the same caliber as Jacob deGrom, that does a lot for your ego and your confidence. And for a guy that was so worried, I mean, I can't imagine psychologically what he's been through, because he's been mentioned as trade bait every All-Star break, every year. It's Wheeler's going to get dealt. They're dangling Wheeler. So they've been wanting to get rid of him, but then he's starting to give you the kind of numbers that deGrom does. And it's like these next 4 years, the Mets have a good, really good chance of winning a World Series. Really good. If they are able to keep the guys they have under contract healthy and happy, and they add a couple pieces in the bullpen, one guy in the field, maybe two, real good chance of winning a World Series. And I think that has to be their pitch to Wheeler too, especially if they're going to try and lowball him. It's like, do you want to earn $23.5 million with the Marlins or some other shit team? Or do you want to earn $20 million a year for us, and you can be the number 2 and win a World Series? I mean, that's what you got to weigh. And I don't know that Zach's very partial to the Mets at this point, because they've wanted to trade him for so long. That's going to be tough. I still think he's worth it. I really do. I think this is not a mirage. It's not fluke. He's done it consistently enough to let you know, hey, even if he doesn't give us the deGrom numbers, the 7 innings, no runs, single digit hits, double digit strikeouts, single digit walks, the 1-ish whip. Even if he gives you slightly worse than that, still better than the major league average. I just don't know that you can go into 2020 with Syndergaard as your 2. That's tough. The other free agent is Louis Avalon, who's the lefty specialist. He made $1.6 million this season. I felt like for a stretch, him and Brad Bratch were looking good as the lefty righty specialists, and then they kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. And maybe that's Mickey Callaway is partially to blame for that. But if you can get him again for around that money, why not bring him back? All right, so we got a handful of players that are in arbitration in 2020. I had to look up arbitration because I'm not totally familiar with it. But Marcus Stroman, he made $7.4 million last year. I think he could be worth that, especially if we're getting the guy who in the last 2 or 3 starts. If we get that guy or a form of that guy, you can give us 6-ish innings, as long as he can if he's giving us these struggling to get out of the 5th, no, thank you. But I think a lot of that, the first couple of starts were just jitters. It's like, hey, I'm with a team that I want to be a part of, and I want to prove that they won this trade. I think that has to play in his mind. He seems like that kind of player where that is going to affect him to a certain extent. He's an emotional guy, and I love that he's emotional. I love that he's fiery and passionate. I love that. It's good to see. But you can see how maybe the emotions got the best of him in the first couple starts, and he wasn't as accurate as he would have liked to be. But then I think he kind of recentered, calibrated, and I think that's the guy you're going to get in 2020. When he realizes, okay, I'm part of the team now. There's a big acquisition that everyone's depending on. There's a lot of pressure on. It's like, I'm now the number 3, number 4 guy. And, he could be the difference maker down the stretch, because I don't know that many Major League Ball clubs have that solid, potential lights out number 4. Syndergaard, he made $6 million this year. Looked like dog shit down the stretch. And, I love Thor. I think, he's had so many great moments in Mets history, and he continues to be such a great character in the Mets folklore. But dude, be a little better, I think there are 1 or 2 games a year where you're like, wow, we have got the ace, And then there are other times where it's like, oh my God, you gave up 9 or 10 runs in 4 innings. And it's like, I understand that was just one game, but like, we need more than 4 or 5 innings. We need more than 5 innings. We need 6 into 7 innings. You can't just give us 5. 5 is not good enough, especially with this bullpen. But I mean, we'll see. I still think and they've talked about this on FAN to death, so I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to see him go. I just want to see him settle into a groove. The fact that he's only 26, dude. Wheeler just hit his stride, in my opinion, and is entering deGrom-ish territory in that same realm, and he's 29. deGrom's 31. Thor is 26. I'd hate to give up on him now. I'd really hate to give up on him. I don't think they should, but fuck, man. If you get a sweet-ass trade offer in the offseason for, I don't know if bullpen would be the way to go, but if you get like an everyday outfielder bat, I don't know. Now you're talking. I think you cannot, if you're going to trade him, got to be a really good trade. Like no doubter trade. Like, yep, we nailed it. Not, well, we'll see if it pans out. And like, nope, you have to feel good from the jump on that one. Michael Conforto, $4 million, worth every penny. You know, I think he had I know it's weird to say, but a breakout season. He's not our starting center fielder. He's our starting right fielder. And if he can give us the same type of season he did this year, like, we have him for a couple more years. And I think his bat, his arm, just his overall demeanor, he's another in that camp that they were talking about, like, oh, trade Michael Conforto. And it's like, again, you would need to have a very nice, sweet deal. Don't give us another bullshit trade just to get rid of him. I mean, you'd have to tear him apart, tear him from our arms with something real nice. So I honestly think Syndergaard and Conforto stay. I don't think anyone's going to be offering like crazy talent. The Mets are already kind of short on outfielders. So it's like, you're going to get rid of one of your best for what? Another outfielder? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I think he stays. Syndergaard, I think you lean towards him staying. Joe Panic, he made $3.8 million this year. I don't see him sticking around, especially with all the, I understand Cano would probably get hurt again next season, but like, here's the deal. Frazier goes, Panic goes, you still have JD Davis and Jeff McNeil. The odds of both of them getting hurt and Cano, very slim. So I think, if you have such a surplus of infielders, I don't think you have to worry about Joe Panic and Todd Frazier. Again, it sucks because I think Panic's a Mets guy. It's nice to have him on board, and he definitely played a lot better with the Mets than he did with the Giants. But you just have too many infielders. Steven Matz, take it or leave it, man. He's affordable right now, $2.62 million, but the wheels came off towards the end of the season, which sucks. And I don't know how you can trade him finishing on that low of a note, but I just don't see, he cost us a couple crucial games down the stretch, and it's going to leave a really bitter taste in our mouths. And I just don't know that, I love having the lefty in the rotation, but I don't know. Solid number 5, maybe. Sure, why not? Edwin Diaz, $600,000 he made this year. Not worth every penny. Who knows? Maybe it is an anomaly. He's a young guy. Maybe he just the first year just got to his head, and it just snowballed from there. Give him the benefit of the doubt and say, after some time away from the game and after some time away from the mound, then maybe he gets his head together. Maybe he gets someone in the clubhouse that can speak to him and talk him through some things. And, the vulture, what's his name? Phil Regan, the 81-year-old pitching coach, can actually work his magic with Diaz. Tough to say because you gave him so many chances this year and he blew them all. He blew them all. Cost us so many games. And so one season's not enough. Not a big enough sample size. You bring him back next year. Okay. What do you do? I guess if it's arbitration, there's no way he's going to make, and especially because he stunk so bad this year, there's no way he's going to break the bank. He's not going to break the bank. His salary is not going to be through the roof. So I don't think it's that big a risk to bring him back in 2020. But if he stinks in 2020, I don't know. You're not saddled with the Robinson Cano contract like you are with Edwin Diaz. So I think you bring him back. You say, hey, forget last year. We want 2018 Edwin Diaz. We believe in you. We got you for a reason. We think you are a closer. Get out there and close some games. And if he doesn't, all right, then you're in a sticky situation. I just think, maybe tell him he's the closer, but they'd be like on the side, like we need a closer and go out and get a closer, another closer. And if he's good, then he's the 8th. And then you have the closer for the 9th. And that's pretty, I like that idea. Brandon Nimmo, he made $600K this year. He's in arbitration. I think the beginning of the season kind of sucked and then he got hurt for a long stretch. But I thought the bulging disc in his neck was going to be a career killer and he came back with a vengeance and he looked good. He's just a walk machine down the stretch. So he's your starting center fielder for sure. But if he gets hurt, if the neck flares up, So if anything, this offseason, they need to get outfield help and some depth. Lugo made $600,000. He's going to make some decent chunk of change in the future. Now, the big question with Lugo is, do you move him into the starting rotation or is he your closer? Is he your setup guy? I think if you deal Matz, if you deal Syndergaard, if you're not keeping your 5 intact that you have now, Lugo has said he's wanted to be a starter. So I don't think you feel as bad trading away Syndergaard or Matz because you have Lugo as your safety net. The problem is you move Lugo into the starting position, your bullpen takes a major hit. It's the bullpen in the outfield, folks. I mean, that's it. Those are the 2 areas that they really need to focus on. Robert Gesellman, I don't know, dude. Take it or leave it. I mean, I know he's arbitration, so they'll figure it out. But if he can get back to what he was in 2016, I like it. But he hasn't been like that for a long time. Check out these players that the Mets have, and I'll end on this for at least the next 4 years. So 2023, which doesn't even seem like a real year. Ahmed Rosario. Hell yeah, dude. I was kind of out on Ahmed. I thought maybe they would trade him at the deadline. I feel like an idiot now for saying that because he is our starting shortstop for now and the near future. Jeff McNeil, who, should be your second baseman, but you have Robinson Cano on the books. So maybe Cano gets hit by a bus and gets to retire. I don't know. But McNeil should be your second baseman. If Cano is the second baseman, all right, you move McNeil to third. Dominic Smith, I think he's shown a lot. Clubhouse guy, you're talking about clubhouse chemistry, and he was there in his boot, in his little cane, and his whatever the hell that thing was called. I don't even know what to call it. I don't know what to call it. Whatever it is, the rolly thing. Dominic Smith definitely is your backup first baseman, can be your lefty bat against righties, even though Alonso, he hits righties fairly well. It'd be nice to give the kid a break sometimes. I think he's played so many games. It's just give him a break a little bit. So Dominic Smith will be a nice little spot starter, nice pinch hitter off the bench. Pete Alonso, that's your starting first baseman for years to come. That's a pretty solid crew. Rosario, McNeil, Alonso. shortstop, second baseman / third baseman, first baseman. Your infield is just about set, but you have to figure in Cano. How does Cano factor into everything? McNeil can be your second baseman should Cano get hurt. So do you go after a third baseman, knowing that Cano is going to start second and McNeil should start at third? Is JD Davis your backup third baseman? If that's the case, you're wasting his bat. Say what you will, the kid proved himself this year. He proved he can hit, especially at home. Outrageous OPS. I mean, so even though JD Davis is an infielder, and this is where, you're in trouble. Do you put McNeil in left, JD at third? Do you put McNeil at third, JD in left? JD does not look great in left field. McNeil, for what it's worth, hustles, can play. So that's going to be the huge question. What to do with JD Davis? Because Jeff McNeil is the team. You got to keep him. JD Davis, is he your left fielder? Are you willing to do that for another season? If you put him at third, where's McNeil go? Fucking Cano. Unbelievable. So yeah, those are the big question marks heading into the 2020 season. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'd hate to see JD Davis go, but it's like you just don't, unless you're willing to put him through the ringer and like, he goes through one of those Karate Kid montages, figuring out left field, like Rocky Balboa montage, learning how to play left field and becomes a dependable left fielder. You might have to trade him, which I don't agree with. I'd rather just trade Cano for a bag of balls at this point. I don't care if we eat the money. It's just like, he's fucking everything up. He's not going to be around for the next 3-4 years. Are you kidding me? There's no way. So you got to figure out how to get him off the team. Get a new washing machine. But JD Davis, young talent, playing well, on the up and up. Put him at third, McNeil at second, and then you just need a left fielder. That would be sweet. So figure out Robbie Cano. You figure out the key to life and the key to the playoffs and the key to the World Series. But mark it. In the next 4 years, you're going to get a Mets World Series win. I guarantee.